Well, for me, music first came into my life, I guess. It's hard to remember whether it was my mother sleeping, singing me to sleep. She had a beautiful voice. But down the hall was my very older brother's. He was 10 years older than I was. And he collected 78s and, 10-inch LPs. And when he was 16 and going nuts, getting Louis Armstrong stuff and Sidney Bechet and Big Spiderbeck and all this Jelly Roll Morton, I was 6. So the first musical input was jazz music, traditional jazz music. My brother we lived outside of New York, so he'd always be in town here, going to 52nd Street and down to Nick's to hear Muggsy Spanier, and he'd go to the Commodore record store and these places. And so I was very lucky to hear this really great stuff. Also, when they had these anthologies, sometimes I probably would have ended up completely doing jazz music if it weren't for these little smatterings on these anthologies of jazz, where all of a sudden they'd put in Leadbelly or Josh White or one cut by Vera Hall or one cut by Blind Willie Johnson. And that was so mysterious sounding to me. For some reason, the jazz world seemed natural to me, just what I was going to live and breathe for the rest of my life. But the country blues thing, it was as if there was a whole world that was mythical, So I think those little seeds were planted for me, and it was a nice combination eventually, because when I finally got to Cambridge, the combination of having sort of a jazz head and a love for this mysterious world of folk music and folk blues and country blues combined very nicely for me to be a part of the Jim Kweskin Jug Band. So the early influences were in that room of my brother, with him dropping the needle on 78s, asking me who's playing clarinet, what's the tune? Who's on clarinet? And then the input later of the fact that, we were in a time when things were changing very much. We went over to 45s. Music started coming in from other parts of the world to the New York area, where all of a sudden Fats Domino is coming into my life, and Jimmy Reed. You got we're dancing as 11, 12-year-olds to Jimmy Reed, So a whole other kind of blues was coming in, and R&B, and it was a very musical time, and in the New York area especially, I don't have any problems with doo-wop music, I'll tell you. I'd go to track meets and the guys would be singing in the locker rooms, singing quartet music in the locker rooms. I don't think they do that today. Maybe they do. But there was a lot going on, but it all started in my brother's room. My baby moving this morning about 9:30. Packed up all the clothes, didn't bother mine, and the tears came a-rolling. And the tears came rolling down when she kissed me goodnight. And I know she meant goodbye. If you leave me, babe, it would break my heart. But sometimes the best of friends must part, and the tears came a-rolling. And the tears came rolling down when she kissed me goodnight. and I know she meant goodbye. Back in my room and I sat down a little while and I thought about my babe. I cried like a baby child and the tears came a-rolling. And the tears came rolling down when she kissed me goodnight. And I know she meant goodbye when she kissed me goodnight. And I know she meant goodbye when she kissed me goodnight. And I know